Does anybody that watches my videos care about Hell of a Boss? I'm not sure. Am I going to talk about it anyway because it's completely destroyed me? Absolutely, yes I am. So for those of y'all who aren't following Hell of a Boss, the new episode just dropped and I was so incensed to anger by it. Not necessarily because it was bad, because it's amazing, but because the reaction from the audience seems to be different than what I got out of it. And while I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I'm not understanding how we all got here. It goes without saying there are spoilers for the new Hell of a Boss episode coming up after this. So Stolas has been trying to deal with the inherent inequality of his relationship with Blitz, because it basically started because Blitz needed his book and Stolas kind of liked him and was like, hey, like if you want to do give me the book back once a month and we'll make it happen. And Blitz is like, hell yeah, I like having a business and I kind of like you too, like this will be fun. But what neither of them are realizing is that this is an inherently icky arrangement and they're both catching feelings. And Stolas is like, I can't deal with this. I need to make this equal. So he goes to Osmodeus, who's like the lust sin, and he's like, hey, can you give me like your special I can travel to Earth legally stone? And Ozzy, after like the whole thing going back and forth with Fizzarali, he's like, sure, I'll give it to you. And Stolas is like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go and deal with this whole Blitzo thing now, and hopefully like it all works out. But no, it doesn't work out because Stolas handled this awfully, absolutely terribly. So I knew from the get that it was going to end badly when, as soon as Blitz walks in with his mountain of sex toys, the first thing Stolas says is, give me the book back. I'm taking it back permanently. So Blitz is already like on his hackles. He's already on the defensive. And Stolas is like, I've been thinking about stuff and I don't think that this arrangement is good for us. I want to make this equal and I want you to stick around with me. But if you don't want to, like, I get it. And Blitz, because he's a person who doesn't think that he is deserving of love or anyone is capable of loving him, he immediately is like, oh, like you're probably joking. Like, let me play into this the way that you seem to want me to play into it. And that's a fair assumption for him to make because Stolas was always going on about like, oh, hello, little imp. And like Stolas is the one who made this transactional. So then as soon as Blitz is like, okay, let me play along with your role play here, Stolas is like, no, fuck you. Like, we're done. Like, I'm not doing this with you. And Blitz, quite rightfully, is like, give me a fucking minute. And he's absolutely right because Stolas has had months to grapple with his feelings and deal with all of that. Blitz can barely like admit that he had feelings for Fizzarali back in the day. Like Blitz has a long way to go. And Stolas is like, oh, I need to relinquish control of the relationship because I've always been the one who controls what happens between us. By relinquishing control of the relationship, he does it in such a way where he still has control over the relationship and Blitz doesn't really have any say in what's going on. And he's like, motherfucker, can you give me a minute? And he's like, because you keep trying to speak over me like I'm small and like you think that you can just speak over me because I'm smaller and I'm less important. And in his own way, like he's trying to engage in the conversation. He's like I need a minute to process everything that you just dropped on me. Like I thought I was coming here for like some emotionally repressed banging. Like I did not know this was going to happen. And Stolas gets all up in his feelings about it. And he's like, I've always thought so highly of you. I can't believe you would think so low of me. But like, he was just hearing Blitz's tone and not hearing what he was actually trying to say. So he kicks him out and basically like, he still has control over the situation and nothing really changed. I do think there are things that Blitzo could have done better in this conversation. I do think he has more than enough evidence at this point to realize that people do love him and that he is deserving of love. And I also think that because of the conversation that he had with Luna earlier in the episode, he was primed to do some pick-me dude shit. But also, I rewatched the episode a second time after I watched it with my husband, and I realized there's this frame of Stolas like, oh shit, I ran out of meds. And at that point, I was like, oh, so like they were both just doomed from the start to not have a good conversation. That being said, while I do think that both of them have their own faults and their own reasons why this dynamic is so is just so emotionally fraught and so compelling to watch. I do think in regards to this episode, Blitz did nothing wrong. Stolas really framed this conversation in a really bad way. And I'm not understanding why, like, I'm seeing stuff online where it's like, oh no, like Stolas did nothing wrong. Like Stolas did everything he was supposed to do. No, he didn't. The entire framing of the conversation was wrong, specifically for Blitzo's mindset. And Stolas being like, oh, like, I know you, I like you, I'm falling in love with you. I feel like he should know him well enough to be like, this is not the way to start this conversation. Like, anybody with anxiety, you don't start the conversation with, give me back the thing that is the whole reason for your livelihood. Like, you don't do that. On a positive note, Moxie and Millie were back in full swing in this episode, and God, I love them. They're amazing. I also liked seeing my precious baby Fitzgerald and Blitz be in full swing in their friendship again. Like, that was so good to see, especially after the emotional pummeling that I personally took watching the Mammon musical episode. Either way, y'all, I am gearing up for the rest of the Hell of Boss season. I still ship them. I still want them to work it out. But speaking, like, for me personally, I don't think Blitz did anything wrong. And I'm not understanding how everybody got to the notion that this was Blitz's fault, when really this conversation going bad was more on Stolas. You know what this man could have done to avoid this particular miscommunication trope and avoid all of the pain that both of them were caused during Full Moon? They have cell phones. Why didn't Stolas just call him? Like, yes, Stolas and Blitz have this standing arrangement on the full moon, but Stolas had been used to, like, calling up Blitz and being like, hey, like, you don't have to come or anything, or Blitz is like, oh, like, I'm busy, I can't do it. Why didn't Stolas just use his fucking phone to call Blitz and be like, hey, are we still on for tonight? If we are, I need to talk to you about something important. It's nothing bad. Just come with the book and we can talk like adults. That would have solved absolutely everything. But Stolas didn't do that because Stolas was so anxious. He wasn't thinking. He was thinking with, like, his trauma brain and not his actual brain, which is why the conversation was just, doomed. Okay, so you have a lot of interesting points in that whole comment thread that I think are worth talking about. But first, let me just say that I don't think Blitz is avoiding Stolas in a literal sense. Like, keep in mind, he says he gets by avoiding his questions in a musical song, and there is exaggeration in musical songs. And even then, Stolas does message him a lot, but Blitz always replies. If you'll see in this text thread that you sent me personally, by the way. And honestly speaking, personally, when it comes to this text that you've circled, if I got enough texts like that personally from a person that I was seeing for whatever reason, I would just assume that you didn't want to do the do with me anymore. Like, I'm sorry. This says, if you don't feel like coming, that's okay. I'm sure I could do without it for 1 month. This wouldn't show me that the dude is into me and wants to get to know me beyond my body. This would just tell me that he's bored of me. And that's what Blitz takes from it. So, like, he's not wrong, really. And I know I'm not alone in thinking this, so I know I'm not, like, crazy or off my shit. Honestly, I just think that there's something to be said for, like, even the creator being like, they both fucked up here and they both have things to answer for. And I think I gotta say something that might hurt the fandom a little bit. It is very easy to see ourselves in Stolas. Like, Stolas, he put himself out there and he was shot down, and that sucks. And I think we would feel that viscerally if we've been there. But at the same time, we are not Stolas. Blitz is not our shitty exes. And I think projecting our own experiences and our own hurts onto these animated fictional characters is kind of not seeing the forest for the trees and not seeing that both of these characters are incredibly traumatized and compelling to watch, but also incredibly traumatized. And that informs what they do. And it means that they're not going to be perfect. And I don't think Stolas handled this perfectly. And I really think that the fandom is falling into the trap of putting on Blitz the things that our exes did to us. For those of you who haven't read ACOTAR, I'm so sorry. This is going to be kind of a spoiler for the early game of the series. But this is definitely something that the ACOTAR fandom does. And I deal in ACOTAR, in the ACOTAR fandom all the time. I talk about it a lot. And it is a huge, huge problem in this fandom where we look at Tamlin and we ascribe to him all of the horrible things that our exes did to us. And we can't look at him objectively. And because we can't look at him objectively, we can't look at the actual love interest for this series objectively. And we don't see that they're the same. And it's very easy to look at Blitz and see somebody who is kind of like emotionally stunted and can't text worth a damn. And that's true. He can't text worth a damn. It is largely due to the fact that I'm pretty sure he's illiterate. But even then, he still can't text worth a damn. Text-to-speech is a thing. But in reality, Blitz and Stolas are just as broken as the other is. And if Blitz fucked up in the way that he handled Stolas, Stolas definitely fucked up in the way that he handled Blitz. And I think that they could heal together and we could get to see that journey play out. But I also think that they need a little bit of time apart to figure out how they both fucked up this situation and how they both fucked up that conversation. Also, I gotta say, I fucking love Helluva Boss. I love the Helluverse. I'm a Helluva Boss girly more than a Has-Been Hotel girly. But either way, if I get to talk about Has-Been Hotel and Helluva Boss more, I would be so fucking happy. Like, yay, I love this. Okay, so you had a lot of interesting comments that I feel like I need to go through and I need to read them a little bit more carefully because I think I was getting them out of order. But I do want to give like your whole thread like the time it deserves. So first, I want to start off with this particular claim because this particular claim, sure, yes, Blitz did say that he was avoiding Stolas' questions. Fine, sure. But I will say again, and until the heat death of the universe, that Blitz always answers. He can't text worth a damn because he's probably illiterate, but he still answers. So he's not ghosting this man. He's not avoiding him. Also, let's look at this a little bit more closely, shall we? Like, let's do what we do to our friends' texts from shitty men. Like, let's do that. So Stolas is like, oh, are you coming tonight? And Blitz is like, yeah, like always. And he's like, oh, if you don't want to come, like, you totally don't have to. And Blitz is like, okay. And then note, the next time Stolas texts him is like the next month. And he's like, oh, do you plan on visiting tomorrow? I know you've been busy, and if you prefer, we could skip the bedroom. We can do whatever you want. And he's like, whatever you want, it's your night. So Blitz is still up for going. Like, he's still up for, like, spending time with Stolas, not sexually. And he's like, oh, if you're not up for it, if you see, like, right there, like it's kind of blocked. I'm trying to put my face, like, right next to it. If you're not up for it or too tired. So I guess the rest of the sentence is Stolas being like, oh, like, you don't have to come if you don't want to. Again, if I were Blitz, I would take that, like, you don't actually want to spend time with me. You're just paying lip service to wanting to spend time with me. And then when I do actually get down there and we actually are going to see each other, you throw all this emotional bullshit on me and you don't give me time to process. And also, Blitz does not try to end Stolas' calls quickly. You want to know why? Because in episode fucking 1, Blitz picks up Stolas' call while being shot at and still does not hang up the phone while he's being, like, in active gunfight with, like, the crazy cannibal lady. Like, I don't know if you remember this episode, but I remember Blitz picking up the phone. He's like, Stolas, I don't have time for this right now. What's up? But, like, he doesn't have time for it. He's actively being shot at, but he still listens to what Stolas has to say. And then all Stolas has to say is the horniest, most bullshit where he's like, that's where he sets up the whole transactional thing between them in the first place. And if you remember, this motherfucker still didn't hang up the phone. He drops the phone because he's being attacked by the crazy cannibal lady. And when Moxie runs back to go deal with the rest of her family, you still hear Stolas being like a horny little shit. So no, they're both equally tone deaf. Or an alternative interpretation of that scene. So the thing I remember about like that hospital scene is that this is the first time that Blitz realizes that Stolas can even be hurt by like a normal demon. Because Stryker, he looks like a snake, but like he is an imp. He is a normal demon. So Blitz, like he's just in disbelief. Like this motherfucker can get hurt. And then Blitz is the one to say like, hey, like get better soon. And Stolas is like, hey, like you can come and visit whenever you want. And then Blitz is like, he's typing, but he doesn't know what to say because as far as Blitz is aware, they don't have that kind of relationship. This is transactional because Stolas made it transactional. And Stolas is the one who makes it sexual. And again, I don't think we should be judging Blitz too harshly on the brevity of his text because again, I'm pretty like 95% sure that he's illiterate. Like text to speech is a thing, but he's probably illiterate, y'all. Honestly, to avoid this, I do feel like what Stolas would have needed to do is he would have needed to show consistency with Blitz that he wanted to get to know him beyond his body. Because at this point, Blitz is like, oh, like, I don't like when things are complicated. Why do I always get involved in shit that's complicated? Because Stolas is, he does have feelings for him, but Stolas is the one who makes it transactional. So Blitz is like, I kind of want this to just be simple because if I have feelings for this guy who, like, doesn't give a fuck about me as, like, a species, like, that in itself is too complicated. Let me just focus on like the sexy stuff instead. And also this motherfucker, like he has servants. Like refill your meds. Take your meds. If you do not make your own serotonin, store-bought is fine. But yeah, I also just don't think that Blitz is constantly ignoring Stolas anyway, because legitimately, the only time that we see him, like, not answer Stolas is that point where you see him typing and typing and he just stops typing, which is kind of like Blitz's feelings for Stolas, but if he goes beyond the transactional part of it, like, he's gonna get hurt, Stolas is gonna get hurt, and then he's gonna lose his business. So, like, there's more on the line for him besides his heart. Which is why Stolas shouldn't have started with just taking the book back. He should have opened with the crystal and then been like, okay, now you don't need the book because I got you this, and I got you this because of XYZ reason. Like, it's literally just the order of events for like the conversation itself. But I do think that the problem with Blitz and Stolas is that Blitz has not seen consistency with Stolas, except Stolas is like blind lust. And Blitz is... he as far as he knows what he's in for. So if he catches feelings for Stolas, it just becomes more complicated. And he has a daughter to support. He has employees that he has to pay, you know? And again, I'm not saying this is all Stolas' fault, because I do feel like Blitz does have more than enough evidence to understand and internalize that people do love him and people do care about him. But just, the whole situation is a big oof. And I still do think that the ickiness of the conversation and the ickiness of the arrangement does fall on Stolas, because Stolas is the one with the power. He is the one who set the terms. And even in that conversation in Full Moon, he is still the one setting the terms. I think Blitz has to set some terms. He has to set some terms. He has to assert power in this relationship. Then and only then can Stolas move forward on equal ground. So my husband is here because we both like Hell of a Boss, and we are actually considered to be like the Moxie and Millie of our friend group. But we disagree on the nature of like the Stolas relationship. I think we both agree that this is kind of a messed up dynamic, and they have some things to answer for. But when it comes to the conversation, I think you put a lot more of the dysfunction about the Full Moon conversation on Blitz than you do on Stolas.
Yeah, honestly, just a little bit.
But either way, like Apology Tour, we actually watched Apology Tour together because we have like different opinions about it. And I feel like I've come around to like certain things, but I do feel like I am even more convinced of my point that Blitz and Stolas are being projected upon by the fandom, where we are projecting everything that our exes did to us. Could you agree with that?
That is an interesting argument to be made, sure.
Like, we're basically seeing in Blitz, like, or Stolas, if you're me, but mostly Blitz, the horrible things that our exes did to us. Therefore, it is a lot easier to commiserate with Stolas on his pain than with Blitzo on his.
To some degree, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, there is other things that come down to it.
Yeah, and I think this is right in that he has incredible imposter syndrome, and he had basically his ex-girlfriend threw a whole ass party with all of his exes, where they're all talking about like how much they loved him and he hurt them, and so like he has ample evidence that he is loved and that he is important and that people care about him. So he does have, like, there's incredible imposter syndrome happening here.
Well, it's not even just imposter syndrome. Like, the scene in the party, spoilers for anybody who didn't see it. The whole point of the scene in the party is that Blitz finally came to terms with two very important pieces of information. One, regardless of how the relationship went or felt, he was important in their lives, and his actions created consequences. And number two, he chose to blatantly ignore those consequences and run away from them. And now that he is forced to sit and deal with it, he's now completely understanding where he went wrong in the relationship, and now he's just wallowing.
I will say, speaking personally, I don't know if you agreed with me on this, I felt like there was a little bit of a retcon in the Apology Tour episode where Stolas was talking about, Stryker came and kidnapped me and you didn't come to save me. It just shows that you didn't care. Like, that felt like a retcon to me because Blitz was very clear. He was not free to do anything with Stolas at that moment because he had to take care of his daughter. And I think it's very much forgotten that even though Stolas is a father, Blitz is a father as well. So, like, and he had to be there for Luna in that moment. And the first thing he did was like, oh, okay, like, Stolas will probably be okay because he's a fucking immortal owl man. But Eminem, can you go and take care of it? And they were like, yeah, sure, like, we got it. Stolas took it like, oh, he doesn't care about me. And I was like, are we acting like he really didn't care in that moment? Like, he could have been like, fuck you, Stolas, and not picked up the phone. But Blitzo always picks up the phone, which is why I think it's very weird that the fandom is like, oh, Blitz completely avoids him all the time, even though, because like the song mentions that he avoids him. Clearly, his actions aren't aligning with his words, and Stolas' actions don't really align with his words either, you know? Can I ask how you feel about that with the whole Stryker thing?
Okay, so in my personal opinion, just as somebody who takes in a lot of media and kind of understands like the implication of a retcon, I don't think that was a retcon. I think the situation is because Blitz had the information that Stryker made an assassination attempt on Stolas' life and failed. He just assumed, oh, he's not going to try that again because that would be stupid. Like, how would he get his hands on a weapon that could do that again? Because in all honesty, it's kind of like asking, how did the 16-year-old get an AK-47 twice?
Oh, we're going there.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So Blitz is under the impression of like, oh, you know, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I'll send Eminem. They'll handle it. No problems. Stryker is most likely just going to kidnap you. And that's about the most he's going to be able to do.
Yeah, and at the other episode, he's like, oh shit, this motherfucker could get hurt.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's weirdly bringing it back to ACOTAR, it's kind of literally like seeing, like, oh, there's this immortal Fae being who, like, is super powerful. And now, all of a sudden, it's like, so I killed and skinned it with an arrow.
He's reading ACOTAR, y'all. He kind of has opinions. I don't know if he agrees with me on them yet. Well, that's going to be a whole other conversation for another day. Anyway, though, I do feel like you're right in this comment where, like, Blitz is pretty much blinded by his own trauma to not see what everybody really thinks about him and that everybody really cares. But I think with the new episode, I'm still just like, God, there's just something about it that sits in the heart wrong. And I think everybody is projecting onto Blitz the things that their exes did to them, but I think I might be projecting on Stolas like the casual racism of it all. I'm just like, Stolas doesn't think that he's like devaluing Blitz when he's like, oh, like my little imp, but then like his actions aren't like aligning with his words, and I think maybe it's hitting me like a particular way because I've been treated like that before. So we're all just projecting our own issues onto these characters with their own issues. So it is what it is, y'all.
No, honestly, yeah. Pretty straightforward on that one.
Absolutely. Blitz is going to get raked over the coals for using that crystal so recklessly. To be fair though, the lust demons from season 1, they were using their crystals pretty recklessly as well. Like, I think Verosica, like, she got like a fish drunk and it became like a big fish monster that almost ate Moxie. So like, Asmodeus is probably used to demons with his crystals misbehaving on Earth. We also have like that part of the season 2 trailer where Blitz and like the rest of IMP, they're on the run. So I guess it would make sense that they would be, because in Full Moon, Moxie and Millie and Luna, they beat up the angels in the lust ring, and then Blitz is like constantly traveling to Earth like for silly reasons, like to attend his own hatred party. So yeah, I could see him getting in trouble or otherwise having to answer for the crimes or the perceived crimes of IMP while they've been in. So I think the thing that's worth remembering for this episode is that Blitz wasn't doing something that could be rescheduled. It wasn't like, he wasn't just like twiddling his thumbs or anything. Like, I think it's very easy for this fandom to forget that Blitz is also a father. Like, he's a father in a like, he has a different daughter situation than Stolas does. But Blitz is just as much of a father to Luna as Stolas is to Octavia, and Blitz was doing something for his daughter. He was not wrong for putting his daughter above Stolas at this moment, especially because at this point he doesn't even know that Stolas can get hurt. Like, he's not trying to be a dick, like, to be a dick. He's like, he genuinely is like, oh no, like, Stolas is like incredibly powerful and Stryker is Stryker. Like, Stolas is gonna be okay. He's going to be okay. Therefore, let me send my trusted buddies to handle this, and I'm going to take care of my daughter. He did the right thing. Like, we give Stolas like his flowers for being a father who is imperfect but trying to be a better father to his daughter. Blitz is just as much a father. Like, he picked up Luna when she was basically 18, but he still treats her like his daughter. And the appointment that he had with Luna was something that she needs I think she needs, like, it's like her HELLUVA shot, and she needs that every year, and he only got an appointment 5 years later. So like, she's already behind on her shots, and they won't take like her as an appointment, and this is the one appointment that he's got, and if he reschedules it, they could be shit out of luck for another 5 years. And she's been going up to the to Earth a lot. Like, she needs her shots. You got to take your vaccines. So no, I don't think Blitz was wrong for prioritizing his daughter over a guy that up until Full Moon, like, not like during this point, he doesn't think that Stolas really gives a shit. Like, he just thinks that Stolas wants him for his body. Why would Blitz prioritize his hookup over his daughter? And then you had a full comment here. And so that was the first part. And the second part was, it was Blitz's turn to make the effort, but he didn't. Regardless of the communication skills, Stolas did what he could to make Blitzo love him. No mutual reciprocation of affection. Blitz thought that Stolas was invincible, to which he wasn't. Stolas was in the hospital, and Blitz didn't make the effort to see him. Blitz not texting him back or whatever, like, that is, I think, up to the individual person to decide whether that's something that Blitz needs forgiveness for. But again, Blitz didn't think that Stolas had feelings for him up until the point where Stolas said, Blitz, I have feelings for you. Again, why is he going to go out of his way for what he thinks is a hookup, where it's like a transactional hookup? Like, why would he go out of his way beyond that if Stolas is the one who made it transactional, and Blitz is just kind of abiding by the rules that have not really been discussed or set down? It's all very passive, like Stolas kind of is. I think if this episode had happened after Apology Tour, I think at that point, if Blitz didn't make the effort, it would be fucked up, and I would question my love for Stolas. But considering that this happens before Full Moon, before Blitz is aware of Stolas' feelings, and before Stolas himself has really been direct about his feelings, Blitz was not wrong and will never be wrong for putting his daughter above someone who's like not his significant other yet. And even then, like, that's his daughter, y'all. Like, his daughter. She needed her shots. He did the right thing.